Moin and guten Tag. Something exciting but also super terrifying happened last week. I was challenged by another baker here on YouTube. And not just another baker, it was Food Geek, the dough whisperer. See yourself.
I'm also going to challenge someone else. Bread Code, I know you're watching. I've been checking out your channel and I know you're good. So I hereby challenge you to bake sourdough bread the least amount.
That's a big
Let's see how
challenge.
much you can do. Let's do this.
What a task! I will try my best. So stay with me as I'm trying to use all my strength to beat Food Geek. It's either going to be an epic win or an epic fail. I'm of course hoping for the win. But yeah, you decide, drop a comment in the end to decide who is the winner. After carefully thinking about this, I decided on my tool chain. Number one, a glass jar for my sourdough, which I will flip upside down to store my sourdough. A spoon, a pot, some basic all-purpose flour, a baking tray, and last, a sharp knife. I'm getting started by setting up my sourdough starter. Normally I use a scale to measure equal parts of flour and water. But in this case I don't have a scale, so I just have to blind guess it by the consistency of my starter. The only thing I want to make sure is that I don't use too much existing starter in the mix, because I don't want my starter to be too acidic. That's why I'm just using a tiny little bit. That way I don't run into issues of over-fermentation as quick, and that should make it easier for me to control the fermentation process. And now, since I don't have a lid, I'm just flipping it over and I'm leaving my starter like this on my kitchen counter. Now I'm not using any bread flour, I'm using an all-purpose flour, and notice the eiweiß, 11 grams, that's 11% protein. The more protein you have, the more gluten you have, and the gluten is responsible for absorbing a lot of water. Well, this isn't a special flour, this is just an ordinary flour that you can find in a German supermarket. I'm trying to slowly add water to figure out when this dough has a great consistency. Since I don't have a scale, I'm just carefully adding more water to the mixture. I don't know exactly how much weight of each ingredient I have. This process is called the autolyse. In this case, I'm just letting this sit for around 4 hours until my sourdough starter is ready. You don't want to develop any strength yet. Just pretty much mix everything together. I always like to clean my hands once now and then visualize the window pane effect, which is non-existent now, but wait for it. In 4 hours this dough is gonna be a completely different game. Since I don't have a lid, I'm just fermenting the sourdough upside down and also the main dough. And yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't run out. Let's see in 2 hours. No! Exactly what I didn't want to happen happened now. A disaster! A complete failure. But nothing to worry, time is of the essence. I don't want any fruit flies to come. I'm just hoping that the main dough doesn't stick to the pot. And no, it also does. My plan, no. But no reason to worry yet. I definitely have to add more strength now. And this window pane effect, look at it, beautiful. It has me hoping again. Maybe if adding enough strength I can recover from this flat pancake. Well, see yourself. Next up is the salt. I really have no idea how much salt to use. I'm just using half a tablespoon. And next up, my sourdough starter. It's not ready yet because it's only been 2 hours. So the fermentation process is going to be a little bit slower than regularly. I'm just going to be adding everything, kneading a little bit, and then let me show you the dough. And here is the dough after 15 minutes after I added my sourdough starter. One more time, window pane effect. Ooh, yes, my hopes are back up again. I'm doing my bench kneading, which I always do. This adds great amount of strength and resists the urge to use flour. Just rounding this dough up now, and then I will be proceeding after 15 minutes and I'll be doing a little bit of lamination. Now, lamination is pretty much the same thing as bench kneading, except that you lay out your dough very, very flat. You're using this gigantic surface of the dough to glue together the dough. That just creates a lot of strength. And now this is exactly what I want because I accidentally made this dough much more elastic than I wanted to by using too much water. I'm hoping this way the dough will stick together more. This is what I do when I work with very wet doughs in general, although this time it wasn't done on purpose. I pop large pockets of air because they will just create super large bubbles in the end in the bread, which I don't want. I'm now going to round this up one more time in another large pocket, and then I'll let this bulk ferment. Normally I take a probe to monitor the bulk fermentation progress. But yeah, this time I'm out of luck. I just have to monitor the dough and have a look at the look and feel. And yeah, this dough looks bubbly, but I gave it another hour. And in this case, in total, it's been around 4 hours. Not that much because it's so hot in my kitchen. But yeah, I decided, okay, that's enough. Let's go ahead and shape this dough. I'm just going to be using a tray with some flour on top to also proof it. And yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge because the dough is completely stuck to the surface. And you can see I stretched it a little bit too much, but yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to shape this dough as good as possible. Yeah, it's very, very elastic, much more elastic than I thought, especially for this kind of flour. This flour doesn't have so much protein. That's why, yeah. But in the end, I managed to shape it more or less, and my hopes are still high. Let's see what's gonna happen next. I proofed the dough at room temperature as usual until it passed the finger poke test. And oh no, do you see that? The dough tore. I gave it too much tension. Anyways, I'm going to try to score this dough now with my sharp knife. I'm trying to hit the spots where it already tore. This just hurts to see all this work and then this happened. But let's not give up. Let's take this dough and then bake it. And I'm very curious what you think about my technique to bake it. Just like this on a tray, and now with the same pot. So this is going to be my Dutch oven, and this is how my dough is baking. I baked this like this for 45 minutes and then let it cool down for another hour. And drum roll, are you ready to see the result? Am I going to beat Food Geek? No! What a complete fail. Oh well. Food Geek, you completely destroyed me. I tried my best, but I failed. I think I just tried too much. I was truly in a very, very bad place. I was crying and then cry farting. I was so under shock I tried doing sports for the first time in my life. But I didn't want to give up, and then something magic happened, something unexpected. I found an ace up my sleeve. A true baker will never give up. You must always learn from your fails, because even the fails taste amazing compared to any store-bought bread. The next morning I got up and started with my attempt number 2. Can I level the score with the ace up my sleeve? Stay with me as I will show you a true masterpiece. Something that still makes my mouth water just thinking about it. This time I will use the same setup one more time, except that I will replace this pot with a glass bowl, a cheap glass bowl for $2 from IKEA. I'm opting for one additional tool, which is going to be a kitchen towel. Also, taste-wise, I'm going to improve my starter by feeding my starter with rye flour. We Germans really love rye flour. But if you don't have rye, you can also just definitely use a wheat-based starter. In fact, rye makes it a little bit more sticky, so it becomes even more challenging. I opted for making a little bit stiffer sourdough, so it doesn't fall out of the glass. Then I was also out of luck because I could not find the same flour again. Damn Corona times. And yeah, on my next iteration, I would be using a glass bowl. My idea was to use this glass bowl as well as a cheap Dutch oven replacement. And I would be much more careful this time on how much water I'm using for the full mixture. The glass bowl also allows me to see how the dough ferments. With the pot, I always had to lift the pot. With a glass bowl, I can just see when the dough flattened out and then give the dough another coil fold. This dough already had a much better consistency compared to the previous dough. I'm trying my best to make sure this doesn't turn out into another fail. I definitely want to even out the score. And yes, I still have this one ace up my sleeve, something that he's not going to see coming. Something that's going to leave him mouth-watering. Something that's going to stun him. Something that's going to make him enter a guitar frenzy playing mode. I hope those are guitars and not basses. I really have no idea, but I hope you get the point. Oh no, fail. I accidentally flapped the pot on the dough. Yes, another minor setback, not good news. But I still have this ace up my sleeve that I'm going to play at the end of this video. Let's see what's going to happen. First up, I'm going to try to shape this dough now. Shaping this dough was so much easier. It wasn't as sticky. It would hold together very well. I also fermented it on point, at least that's what I feel. Just based on how the dough feels, this dough is excellent. And yeah, shaping I've done many times before, no problem. I'm just making sure that I don't degas the dough that much. I want the dough to be very fluffy in the end. And based on how tight you shape, you can influence your crumb, so I'm trying to take it easy. Last time I just proved the dough on the tray directly. This time I want to use the same bowl that I used before. It almost looks a little bit like a banneton. I'm adding a kitchen towel in there and I'm flouring that kitchen towel. I don't want the dough to stick to the kitchen towel. Normally I would be using rice flour, but in this case no rice flour, just regular flour. To determine when to bake this dough, I'm using the finger poke test. For this, just poke the dough. When the dent recovers very slowly, that's the moment when you should be baking your dough. And now here comes my ace up my sleeve. This tiny piece of paper. I prepared it while the oven is preheating. I'm just hoping this dough won't stick to the kitchen towel. That would make it a disaster. And yeah, I'm struggling a little bit here, but it's coming right off. Success. A tiny success which I needed to keep up my motivation. And yeah, next up, I'm going to be scoring this using my tiny paper piece. And you probably wonder, what is this paper piece good for? Well, see for yourself in a little bit. Okay, my scoring could have been improved a little bit. Now it's time to cover up this dough with a glass bowl and put the dough into the oven. After 25 minutes, I removed the glass bowl to develop more of a crust. And now comes my ace, at least part of the ace. I prepared some sourdough crackers, and yeah, I was having a hard time getting this tray into the oven. I just need a better tray. But this isn't all. And to finish off my ace, I cut some chive. I took that chive and cut it into really tiny pieces. And then soon the bread was finally ready, and look at this nice lid on top. What an amazing crust. Much better than I expected. But we are not done yet. I'm now taking my knife and I'm removing the top part of the bread. You must be all excited now what's going to happen next. My ace is soon going to be played. I'm cutting off the lid and I'm placing the lid to the side. We still need it a little bit later. And yes, we have to cut out that fluffy crumb from the inside now. And I actually wanted to save the crumb, but that was so delicious, still warm with just a little bit of butter. What an amazing bread. And now comes the grand finale. I treated myself a camembert. Do you already see where this is going? Something awesome is going to happen. The whole flat smelled like camembert. A little bit gross, but still so incredible. There's nothing better than a delicious camembert. I sliced the camembert just like that. And then I placed this camembert inside of the hole that I just created inside of the bread. And because melted cheese isn't good enough, you want to top this off with a little bit of white wine. A great trick that I learned from a French colleague. This just adds so much incredible taste. In this case, the wine is also very fruity. It plays along very well. Cover this up and then let it go back to the oven until the cheese has completely melted. While the cheese was melting, my discard starter crackers became ready. Do you see where this is going? The scent of this is just so good, almost like a cheese fondue. I just love this. This is the reason why I love making boules, and probably the only reason. I'm seasoning this off with the chive and then a little bit of pepper, and then we are ready to taste this. I'm going to slice the lid as well into tiny pieces. And then once this whole cheese has been eaten, then I'll start slicing the bread and I'll have parts of cheese left inside of the crumb. So delicious. Now let's take a cracker, put some cheese on it and then give it a taste. And I'm sorry for showing you this not safe for work footage, but this cheese with this bread was just so good. So, did I manage to level the score? Drop a comment with your devastating verdict. You decide. Hope you enjoyed this challenge. It has been a lot of fun and very random too. I love it. Do you have a question and need some bread troubleshooting? Then drop a comment too in the comment section. Either one of you or one of me is going to reply. Seriously, all the amazing questions you have challenge me all the time. They make me a better baker. They help me understanding all the details that are so important. Anyways, happy baking and may the gluten be with you.